shoulder. I was working for the phone company, but during that operation, it was actually being aware of the whole operation, stepping out of my body. But being able to prove it to him was the biggest gift. He was one of the top surgeons in New York City. He worked on all the famous people like Catfish Hunter, the people from Cats, and a lot of big sports players. He was a sports doctor. And after the operation, right after the operation, my eyes opened up, and he said, "You can't be awake." I said, "What do you mean I can't be awake? I'm awake." "No, you're not. You can't be." I said, "Yes, I am, and I could see you. Go back to sleep." I said, I saw the whole operation. He goes, "No, you didn't." I go, "Yes, I did." He goes, "All right, I'll come to your room." And then he came to my room right after the operation, and I told him what went down in the whole operation, and he was blown away. He was 45 at the time. He was a young doctor, but he didn't understand things like that. But after I told him, it kind of like changed his whole viewpoint on the idea of being able to do something like that, or that it really happens. So to me, it was a good experience. I mean, even though it was a really bad operation, but he did a really good job on me as well. So, but I mean, it's like I said, little things that happen that I really wouldn't have chose to do by any means, but it always turned out to be beneficial in a lot of different ways. But are you in a relationship now?
Yes.
I mean, because I always wanted to have children. That never happened. I had 3 wives, and they all gave themselves a miscarriage. So we never had the child. And then I realized I'm not going to have a child in this lifetime, which was fine, because then I stayed with my spiritual quest, which led me in a greater direction for that and helped me stay within that. Like I said, if I would have married the first person, which I did, and had a child, I would have been a family man. And that's what I would have been happy doing the rest of my life. But luckily, it all changed, and I started a spiritual quest, which changed my reality. I mean, I had 5 death experiences. I was empathic for a few years. So all those things just magnified where I was headed. And I'm just kind of glad that it turned out that way. But through my life, it's hard, because everybody thinks when you're spiritual or you become spiritual, everything is rosy. I mean, a lot of people say it is. I look at reality. I said, I can't be happy until the world's happy. It's just my viewpoint of life. I can't be walking around smiling when I know something's happening to a child. So it's just my perception and the way I live life. I mean, I'm writing a book on something really dramatic. But it's helping me feel that I can help the world in some way. I mean, if I get this book done before I leave the planet, I feel it can help a lot of women. So, you when you get spiritual nudges, there's always the option to listen or not to listen. But, I mean, the way you were brought up, you could always hear it. Whether you followed them or not, it was always your choice, which is really cool. I mean, most people don't get that chance or have that ability. I think it's one of the greatest gifts, because understanding things that most people don't only can help you grow. And in this time frame, learning about death, learning about psychic abilities, learning about spirit, energy, and all those things are so critical to soul within itself. I mean, it's not going to change. I don't believe it changes this reality that much, because everybody says you can create your reality. No, you live in this planet, which I call hell. You can't change the government. You can't change countries. You've got to be under their rule. Sure, you can say I can do whatever I want, but you really can't. You do what the rules of government says you can do. So, yeah, I'm a rebel. I'm part Native, and I danced for almost 35 years. I did stage magic as well for about 35 years. So I branched out a lot of different ways, only to find that where I'm at now, I mean, I'm retired, which is probably the best space to be when you're trying to be a writer. I mean, if you're trying to be a writer and you got to do a normal 5 job, it's pretty hard, especially when you're dealing with. I was a plumber, I was an electrician, I worked for the phone company. So when you get freedom, and the freedom comes within. I mean, people say, well, you be the best you can. I say, you're always the best you can. Whether you realize it or not, it's just up to you to follow through. So that's my view on it. TJ, you there? Did she come back? TJ?
I don't know where she is. I think maybe she's like on mute or something. Well, Tommy, that's my daughter, Catherine, and maybe another time, maybe I'll bring on my son. So I am one of those people that's very fortunate that I got to have the family and I got to work as a psychic and pursue my dream. So
that's
true.
That's great.
Yeah,
yeah, that's great.
No,
yeah, I'm
thank
here.
you.
I was on mute.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what I was wanting to do was to book us for today for in honor of everybody a name for our today's show magazine, but I'm having to give them my card numbers to do that, and I'm looking for one that matches one of my cards right now in my let's see. My grandson didn't bring me back that card is what it is. Let me see if I can do it on this one. My grandson took me shopping and then didn't give me back my card. How weird is that, right? Hold on. But what I'm going to do is tell you guys as a surprise for the year. Let's see, what is, if I can read this, 675. I'll tell you the name in just a minute. Something special for all of us to play on. Let's see, save. Let's see if it takes. It's called Spirituality Wellness. And let me see if it'll complete the purchase. If it is, we're meant to get it, right? If it doesn't, we're not. It was just thank you. Yay! All right, so we're going to be spiritualwellness.com. Spirituality. Will you write that down, Catherine, in your honor of your family there with your uncle, Tommy, and everybody? Spiritualitywellness.com. I don't know why it wanted to be created, but it wants to be on Wikipedia, and nobody's put it. So we can ask for it. So Spirituality Wellness will be our new magazine for today, and we've got Ascension Center Ohana that we have to build. But it just wanted to be done. So I guess we needed more creation of wisdom from the well of wisdom today. So, we should talk about that. Spirituality.
TJ?
What was that? Wellness? All right, so we need to write that down.
I wrote it down.
Created.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Do you have, is there anybody waiting online that wants to get one last reading? Just one short reading.
No, just Tanika, I think, is still here. She didn't go away. Tanika, is that you?
Yes, it's me.
Oh, good for you,
right.
Tanika. Good for you. Okay. Okay, so, all right, that's good. So, So the spiritual, TJ, the spiritual awareness, the Ascension show that you have now, talk about how it was created to honor your daughter. This is what the whole story is about.
Well, Ascension Center Ohana and the Love and Light community came together for her growing up without me while I was in the military. My husband and I divorced in 1980, and we separated, and my kids got really upset because his family had the money. I've took my company, left my company, Assured Confidential Investigative Reports, and went out to Denver in snow because he had the money and I didn't, and we had tried to stay together. So we remarried for a couple of years for the kids, but financially we just weren't making it. It was when he had left NASA, and I was at the University of Alabama and doing forensics, and I was working at Arthur Murray at night and cleaning houses during the day, but we had been used to me all those years at NASA. I was paying the house payments because I did rent. I worked for Newton Schwartz, so I always had apartments, from the time I was 16 till, I stayed pregnant, and then I ran them on Telephone Road Apartments. I ran the daycare center with Sherry Hardesty. So all that became a part of our reality, but by the time I get to Alabama and my husband and I divorce, it's really deep, folks. Believe me, we tried and tried because he loved me and I loved him, and to his death we were still best friends and we hugged each other, but he died early. due to cancer, and then she died of cancer. But what's happened is my husband's and my daughter, it was just really hard. So she and I created the Ascension Center Ohana, or Ascension Center organization, really, the logo, but it got taken over when I was up in Kentucky. I don't understand how, but I'd had it since her early 70s and 80s, so we called it the Power of Three, and we made 3 petals like I've got different renditions of it. But when I walked, here's the God story for today of what Suzanne's asking me is, Ascension Center, Ascension Center, I put over there in Hawaii, and I put it before the Catholic Church owned it. So when they saw me, they were in Missouri wanting their Ascension Center magazine up, which they have, but I had the logo, and they already had the logo. So I don't know where they got their logo from, but my daughter was sitting in Sacred Heart, and she and I created it before the church had it. So I got called over to Owensboro when I was living in Kentucky, and Tommy was on the phone. I told Tommy and Janet that they called me and wanted me to come to the studio where I was a recording producer with my music. And so, Tommy, do you remember way back in the beginning in 2012, and they called me, I told you it's sort of spooky? Do you remember the spooky time over the logo? And I told you, yeah, okay, you do remember. It was sort of spooky times. And we were fighting over it, but they would never tell me that they were calling me about the Ascension Center logo. They had these undercover police officers and this archaeologist with the government, and I always worked with our anthropologist. Was it archaeologist? I get anthropologist and archaeologist mixed up. One digs up dead bones, and the other one digs up dead. Anyway, one of them always had to work with me on my cases when we dug things up around the world. Anyway, one of them came on my show. I can go back and find it. But the whole problem was apparently the words Ascension and Center that I got in Hawaii, I got it from God. And so I got ordained in the Gold Pyramid, and it was called Unity Church, but I kept telling it was Ascension Center. And they didn't know why, and they were confused, but they put their hands on my head. I had a laying on of hands. Of course, I was an LDS in the Gold Pyramid Church, which was Unity Church. But anyway, it's a long story where all the world religions come together. But the Ascension Center, since lightning struck a tree while I was in Hawaii, and I was already an artist of Hawaii, and I was doing that artwork like Jack was doing his, so you know, I'd already done the Jesus picture, and I'd already had extraterrestrial visits, and I was working for the government. I was already in the Department of Navy. I had to leave my kids and go to Chicago, so they came up there, and we watched Shirley MacLaine come out, but we were having all these paranormal experiences, and it was just a weird, wild time. So when I had to go to Hawaii, Stephanie came and Gigi came, but Angela wouldn't come, and Lauren. They were the two oldest. So Angela stayed and went to college. Then she moved to to Houston with my mom, and Lauren stayed down here in Florida because they were already high school, college. So Gigi came over when she was 16, but we worked on the Ascension Center. She was even in the Hawaii paper. And we were doing the ACO Expo, and I put the Ascension Center in the newspaper. And this was 92, 93, but we already had all the logos and the name. So they didn't fight me on it, but they tried to or something. The guy that were all these, people undercover, because I was the BMI, I was in Broadcast Music Incorporated, and I was also a producer with International Bluegrass Music Incorporated, IBMA, and they had my recordings at the museum there in Owensboro, Kentucky. So that's where they had me come, and a recording studio, they wanted me to buy it, was Sunlight Music, owned by back when he was younger, he was a little boy, but he went to school with another guy, and they both played guitars, and they were in my band. But he wound up coming to Hawaii, and then he had a